Well, folks, for gun owners like us who've been fighting all year to stop the gun control agenda coming at us 100 miles an hour out of Congress, it's really nice to get a win. It's a big win to talk about in today's video. Aaron Dorr here at the New York State Firearms Association. And guys, you remember all fall, we've been talking about H.R. 4350 and trying to kill this bill in Congress. H.R. 4350 is the National Defense Authorization Act. It's the budget bill for the military for the next fiscal year. And so because of that, it's a must-pass bill in Washington, D.C. And so it's very common to see Nancy Pelosi and the radical left always try to insert gun control into this bill. And this year was no exception. This year's H.R. 4350 contained red flag gun seizures for the military. Now, New Yorkers, unfortunately, we know all too well about red flag gun seizures. And you know that what this means is that almost anybody, an angry ex-spouse, a boyfriend or a girlfriend you had 10 years ago, angry aunts you haven't seen in decades, almost anybody can make up a complaint against you and ask a judge to take away your firearms. And of course, because they have ex parte proceedings, that means that you, as the guy who's being complained against, would never even know about it until it's all over. You could never be there in the hearing to defend yourself. You could never have your lawyer present to defend you. You could never confront the witnesses against you. The first you would hear about this is when the cops come to confiscate your firearms. Now, in the military version, that's bad enough. Being disarmed, having never committed a crime, that is completely un-American. The military version, though, has an additional feature because if you lose your right to keep and bear arms in the military, in many cases, you're going to lose your job. You may even be dishonorably discharged from the military and lose your right to keep and bear arms in your civilian life for the rest of your life. That is the reality of a red flag gun seizure in the military. Now, it wasn't a big shock to see Nancy Pelosi push this. She's an anti-American, anti-freedom, gun-grabbing ghoul who wants to destroy our country. But to see Republicans aid her in doing this was insufferable. And we had that happen as many New York Republicans lined up and voted yes on H.R. 4350 when it passed out of the House. Congressman Garbino, Jacobs, Katko, Malliotakis, Reed, Stefanik, and Tenney, all of them voted to assist the left in putting red flag gun seizures into our military. So we asked you guys to contact them all fall by email, phone calls, petitions, all the above, and make sure that Republicans in D.C., our pro-gun Republicans, knew that this behavior would not be accepted. And you did in a major way. In fact, so many gun owners here in New York and across the country called the Republican conference. They convened, according to our sources, an emergency meeting days after that first vote in September. And basically the question they had was, what the hell were we thinking? What did we do? Why did we vote to put red flags in the military? Why did we vote to go along with Nancy Pelosi's agenda? And within days, Republican leaders in D.C. issued statements vowing to gun owners that they would fix this when they had the chance to do so. And I'm happy to report, folks, that days ago, the final version of this bill was passed out of Congress after having been debated back and forth in the Senate and then in conference committees where both chambers agree on a compromise version. And in the final version, red flag gun seizures have been removed in the military. The new bill number here is S1605, and this version no longer contains red flag gun seizures. I want to thank you, every single New Yorker who made a phone call, sent an email, signed a petition, and told our Republican members of Congress to back up and stop trying to put red flags in our military. Your voice was heard loud and clear. I know a lot of times the question can be asked, does my activism matter? Do people hear me? Do they care what I think? And it can be easy to be frustrated and say, forget it, I just don't care anymore. Folks, that is exactly what the enemies to our freedom are counting on. They're counting on gun owners sitting back and giving up. And I want to thank you again for everybody who held the line here. We shut this down because of the phone calls and emails from so many gun owners like you. I want to also encourage everybody, if you have not yet renewed your membership in the New York State Firearms Association, we need your help now for 2022. We have major fights, of course, coming again in Congress, but also, as you can imagine, major attacks on our gun rights right here in Albany. We're going to see a fight over mental health gun control, mandatory mental health exams as a condition to buy a firearm. We're going to see action on civil liability requirements for gun owners before we can buy a firearm, and much more besides. If you've already renewed your support, thank you for helping us hold the line. If you haven't, hit the link above or below and get involved in this fight. Thank you again for all your activism in stopping red flags. There's a much more to deal with next year, guys. Get involved. We'll keep you informed. Take care.